Hey, it's Aaron, and today I'm in front of a 2021 Volkswagen Arteon. So the Arteon was introduced in 2019. This year it gets a little bit of a refresh, some updates. That front grille is a little different. So if you're looking at that and wondering, hey, that doesn't look like a Volkswagen grille that I've seen before, that's because it's brand new. Changes there, there's some changes on the back and a little bit of change in the styling. It's still a very sleek, very beautiful car. This is Volkswagen's flagship. It's their topmost vehicle and it really shows. It's a really good looking car. Also big changes on the inside. The interior is a whole lot better, especially around the dashboard and stuff. It's not so plain that Volkswagen's kind of been known for. I used to call Volkswagen's design philosophy Teutonic because the function makes the form, and for a lot of people it's just really boring. In this one, lots of upgrades, including the new infotainment system, which I believe is MIB3 is what Volkswagen calls it. I don't know what that stands for. I see MIB, I think Men in Black. But anyway, it's probably something in German. So, wonderful car. Let's have a look around. Let's walk around it and talk about it. And I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just kind of rambling now. So what you're seeing here is the side profile of the car. It's a really simple but sleek design. This is kind of what you think of when you think of a hatchback that's not really a hatchback. So this is kind of the fast-paced, fastback sport coupe, or sport sedan in this case. And it's a really popular design, especially in upper-level vehicles. So you see this a lot with BMW, with Audi, and with Mercedes, companies like that. And basically, it's a hatchback look on the back, except it's a trunk instead of a hatchback. So basically, it's a fastback. That's kind of the term that's been used for it. So in terms of design cues, I'll walk into the picture so you can see it. In terms of design cues, this is a mid-size sedan, and you can see the refinement going on here. There are three lines happening, and this one creates the hood bulge in the middle. That's not really a bulge, but kind of is. There's a 268 horsepower Turbo 4 under there, and it's a wonderful little engine. But this car is aimed towards efficiency, and it's aimed towards kind of a non-sporty driver. So the transmission does not get in a hurry to do downshifts and up the speed, and the steering is kind of mushy. So this is more of a touring car. It's more of a smooth driver, not really a sport, hit the corners hard, that kind of thing. So if you're looking for a sport, even with the R-Line package that this has, you're not going to get it in this car. This is a more kind of a state car. This is more of a driver's cruising car, not a hey, let's get going and have fun, hit some country roads kind of car. So with that in mind, we'll talk about fuel efficiency and other stuff later when we look at them running. So looking at these lines here, you can see it creates a fender, but not a bulging, big, beefy one. It's just a nice, kind of a smooth fender and a nice light shelf, two of them, right here and right here. So you have two of them right there, kind of changing how the light is seen. And then this here gets a little shallower as you go. So it's really thick here and then shallow right here, but that line continues across and then it thickens again at the rear. So it goes along like this, creating again a triple line shelf right here, right? So you have two different light catchers. You have one that's a couple fingers wide right here, and this bigger palm wide one here, and then the top of the chrome piece here. So it creates a light shelf that reflects light in different ways in all three of those sections. And then this middle section here gets wider as you go back, accentuating the rear. So that creates kind of that bigger rear end that creates a little more muscle, makes it look a little more movement, right? It creates movement in the body. Most body design is about movement. So down at the bottom, you can see it cuts really hard right here down to this, creating that running board. So all of those lines are just really well thought out, very classic. This is a pretty classic design motif. You'll see this in a lot of cars over the last maybe 30, 40 years. This is a The reason this works is because it creates the kind of forward movement that you want without looking too busy. It's very, very simple and classic. So very nicely done. You see the roof line is a nice curve, and that curve, even though it goes along here and it looks pretty sharp back here, it's not as sharp as it appears. So the headroom on the inside is still really good. So very nice design here. So looking at it from the inside, I'll try to overlay a couple of pictures as we go here. You have a fully digital instrument cluster. Very clear, easy to read no matter what the sunlight is doing. Also, those digital clusters are great because they allow the automaker to bring the cluster forward because glare is no longer an issue. When you have physical gauges, you have to sink them in and cover them so that you don't get light on them. Otherwise, there's glare and you can't see what's going on. These digital clusters are much better. So this is only sunk in a little bit. It's hardly, so it feels closer, which is good because it means that it's framed by the steering wheel and it's very easy to look at, which in turn means you don't have to look at it for very long, which is a good thing. Then you have the new MIB3 infotainment system. Very fast and responsive, nicely done there. It's a little quirky. There are some Volkswagen quirks you have to learn, but that's true of almost everybody. And this particular model, this is the SEL Premium, I think, R-Line is how you say it, or Premium R-Line. Anyway, it's very, very nice in here. I love that they finally went to add a little bit of bling. So now there's this kind of a brushed aluminum and then this carbon fiber nickel look across the top. So there's more than one material in here. Then you have this kind of fake leather up here. It's kind of a foamy stuff that looks really good with the stitching going across it, and it matches the seating leather. And then down here you have soft instead of hard plastics, which is one of the reasons that when you're in here, the noise levels from the road are very low. It's extremely quiet in this car, which means that the Harman Kardon stereo is very nicely loud. I talked about drive quality a little bit. So it is peppy at the very get-go. So when you first start going that first, maybe 15 miles an hour, it's very quick. It feels really good. There's all kinds of confidence, and it never hesitates to go faster if you're trying to, if you push the pedal down and you want to get on the freeway to go at freeway speeds and things like that. It doesn't hesitate in those things. Where it does hesitate is when you want sudden power, so you suddenly decide to do it. It takes it a little while to decide to downshift, and then in normal driving, it will hold the highest gear for as long as possible before doing any kind of downshift. Which, when you're towards the lower end of each of those gears, it starts to feel a little bit sluggish because it's getting towards the end of that gear's capabilities before it shifts. And all of that is aimed towards efficiency. There are a couple of things that I really like about this. The steering wheel light, the steering wheel stuff lights up. So right now because the car is off, there's nothing on these buttons, but when I turn it on, all those buttons light up and you can see what they are. Other little things that are just kind of cool, the pedals feel really good. Even though the steering is really mushy, it's positive. So what I mean by that is it's a mushy feel like 1980s Buick, right? So it's just kind of down the road. It's electric assist very clearly, and when you're driving it, you're not getting a lot of feedback from that steering wheel, but at the same time, when you move the wheel, it's a positive movement, so things happen when you do it, which makes it very intuitive to drive. That's something that most cars should have now, and a lot of cars don't. They have too much slop, basically. So nicely done there. Now let's look at the back seat, and then we'll talk about pricing and other Monroney items. I think saying Monroney. I mean, most people think of it as the window sticker, but it's Monroney. It's the official trade term. See, it might be on the inside now. So back here in the back seat, even though it doesn't look like it, I actually have a lot of headroom. So sitting up normally and straight, I have more than my finger's thickness, there you go, which is about half an inch. I have more than that in leftover headroom up there, which is great. Now with this seat set for me sitting up there at 6'3", I still have tons of knee room as well. So nicely done back here. It's a big back seat. It's really comfortable. Putting 3 across as adults is a little iffy, but not nearly as dicey as it is in some other vehicles I've been in. So nice roomy cabin. Really large considering the size of the car. And I would be a little remiss if I didn't talk about the trunk at least a little bit. So again, the trunk, it looks like a hatchback, but it's typical Volkswagen fashion. There you go. It is cavernous, huge. It goes all the way up to that seat. You can see the ski pass through in this model, and just tons of room. This is deep. I have a hard time reaching the other end. It's so deep. And also under here, you have an actual spare. It's not a full-size spare, but you have an actual spare. Getting to be a rarity nowadays. So I promised to talk about the price tag, and then the camera shut off and I forgot my spare battery. So we'll do it here in my driveway. Here's the Monroney, aka window sticker. 2021 Arteon Premium R line. Looking at this, you can see the total price for the suggested retail price at the base is $46,995 for this model, and then there's a $395 add-on for this red paint, which totally worth it because this is beautiful red paint, beautiful. Then going to the destination fee and all told, putting that together, it's $48,585 for this car. I think that's a pretty good price. It's a little steep for when you're thinking of this just as a Volkswagen, but if you think of this as a premium model comparable to, say, Buick, companies like that, this is definitely worth the price. It's a wonderfully done car, so totally worth it. So for fuel economy, this is rated at 30 miles per gallon on the highway. It might be 31, one of those. 30 or 31 on the highway. My real world out here at very high altitude was more like 28, which I expect the turbo to usually make up for the altitude, but it wasn't happening on this car. What I think is going on is, one, I think it's perfect world scenario to get that EPA rated. It's also probably in a lower end model. This has a little bit of extra weight because of the extra stuff and the larger wheels. The larger wheels are going to make a difference. So I don't know, but my number was a little over 28. So there you go. That's fuel economy as far as I know. I think that's it. I covered all of it. Cool. So this has been Aaron, 2021 Volkswagen Arteon. Talk to you again soon. Subscribe.